It was 15 years ago that the house I grew up in, the house I knew as a safe haven, became a place I feared. I remember coming home from school, feeling the change in the air as I walked through the door. Something was different. The air was colder somehow, and the sounds of a child's laughter echoed down the hallway. Let me back up a little bit. My name is Cameron, and I was 10 years old when my 6-year-old sister, we'll call her Bella, started taking ballet lessons at the dance studio in town. My oldest sister, Hannah, we'll call her, was a dance instructor at the studio and had been for a long time. Every week, we would go to the studio and kill time in the waiting room while Bella finished the night's ballet lesson. On this particular night, it was just me, my mom, my 2-year-old sister, Sabrina, and a few other parents sitting around in the waiting area. I'm sure my mom wished those other parents hadn't been there because tonight, Sabrina was throwing the biggest tantrum any of us had ever seen. She screamed and cried and threw toys to the ground in pure toddler rage. "I want to dance too," she screamed. "Let me dance, let me." My mom tried to explain to her that she wasn't old enough to take dance lessons yet, but that only seemed to anger her more. You see, Sabrina was very advanced for her age. She was dancing long before most of us take our first steps, but that didn't change the fact that the studio only offered classes to kids over the age of 5. Sabrina continued her childish rampage, much to the embarrassment of my mom and me, until Sabrina suddenly stopped. She was sitting on the waiting room floor, next to the basket of toys meant to appease restless children. A second ago, Sabrina was screaming loud enough to wake the dead, and now here she was, playing with the toys, laughing like nothing was wrong to begin with. It was a weird flip of the coin, but my mom and I were grateful. That night, we all loaded up in the family van and started the drive home. Sabrina giggled the whole way. The next day, I came home from school to those same sounds of laughter. I followed them down the hall to the room across from mine. My mom stood in the doorway, watching Sabrina as she played with her Barbies in her room. Mom turned to me and said, "Sabrina has an imaginary friend now. They've been playing like that all day. She's calling her Jenna." Having an imaginary friend was normal enough for a 2-year-old, but as a Goosebumps reading kid, I knew imaginary friends were creepy, and I wanted nothing to do with it. Too bad her room was across the hall from mine. Every day was more of the same thing. I'd come home from school and try to finish my homework while Sabrina laughed and talked to the little girl who wasn't there. She'd tell us every day that Jenna was so nice, and Jenna wore a pretty purple dance suit, and Jenna this, and Jenna that, and Jenna. Needless to say, it got annoying after a few weeks. And then it got scary. One night, Sabrina woke up screaming. Everyone in the house ran to her room to see what was wrong. My little sister lay in bed, eyes shut tight, thrashing and crying and begging Jenna to leave her alone. It took my mom and my stepdad 10 minutes just to convince Sabrina to open her eyes. When she finally did, they were filled with fear. She told us that Jenna had been in her room, but her head was broken and she was covered in blood. "She's lost. She can't find her mommy and daddy," Sabrina cried. "Her head hurts so bad." I looked around the room with unease. I didn't see any blood-soaked little girls, and I didn't want to. I slept with the lights on for the rest of the night. The following nights were unpredictable. Some were quiet. Others involved Sabrina waking up in hysterics, saying that Jenna was being mean to her, that Jenna was scary. I thought Jenna was scary too. Then came the bite marks. They were buried into the flesh of Sabrina's arm, blood seeping through the broken skin. "She bit me," Sabrina cried. "Jenna bit me." This is when my parents started taking things a little more seriously. They were sitting on the couch the next morning, discussing what to do about Sabrina. Was something wrong with her? Where was she getting these ideas? She wasn't in school yet, so she didn't have the influence of other kids trying to scare her. She didn't watch scary things on TV, so where was all of this coming from? Had the bite marks been self-inflicted? As my parents discussed these things, one of my brother's baby toys started spinning on the floor all on its own. It played music and flashed its lights as if someone was rolling it around. My parents watched it for a few seconds until my mom finally said, "Hi, Jenna." The toy stopped moving. My sister Hannah visited the next night, and it wasn't long before the conversation shifted to Jenna. When Hannah heard about the little girl in the purple dance suit, her face went paper white, as if she had just seen a ghost. Or, in this case, heard about a ghost. She said that a few years ago, a little girl in a purple dance suit took classes at the dance studio. She attended lessons for a very long time until she and her parents were killed in a house fire. The little girl's name was Jenna. The next day, my family and I walked around our home, going from room to room, telling Jenna that she needed to move on, that her parents were waiting for her in heaven, and she didn't need to stay here any longer. We weren't sure if this would be enough to make Jenna leave our house in peace, but in time, we saw that it really did work. The atmosphere in the house felt lighter and happier. I was no longer afraid to sleep in my own bed, and Sabrina never woke up screaming again. To this day, she has no memory of Jenna or anything that happened 15 years ago. But one thing is for sure, she's a beautiful dancer. Thank you so much for watching this video and for listening to my story. I know it's a little far-fetched and hard to believe, but I just told it how it happened. Even if you don't believe in ghosts and you don't believe the story that I told you, I still hope you got some enjoyment out of this video. And keep in mind that I am a writer, so if you're interested in checking out some fictional stories that I've written, you can go to Amazon and look up my story, There Are Monsters Here, which is available on Kindle for 99 cents. And of course, the link for that story will be down below in the graveyard. I also have a couple other books that I'm working on, and I'm hoping that those see the light of day very soon. Thank you again for watching. I hope all of you are having a great Halloween. And until next time, later, creeps.